Congratulations, you got a reason to celebrate. Na 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 na. Finally, it is done. There has been an agreement between Erik ten Hag and Ineos on a new contract believed to be 3 years in total. He will be putting pen to paper soon. Meanwhile, his backroom staff is quite an army. A former manager of a club, another turned down an offer to manage another. These guys are saying we are coming to lead the revamp of Manchester United. My name is Webb. Big news updates this day. I told you today has been of so much news. Honestly, I've been waiting for this video that wraps up the news of the day. I'm going to be so fast. That's why you've got to like, share, subscribe, drop down in the comment section. I hope you manage my speed because there's too much talk about farm. Carrington has been a beehive of activity today. First of all, Erik ten Hag has agreed finally 100% everything agreed between him and Ineos of a new contract. Look how far we've come. It's been a long time hoping for this day to come. There were a few setbacks that we thought would deny him, but the two parties have agreed that Erik ten Hag will have a serious say in terms of transfers, players will bring in, but most importantly, he is going to be the man totally in charge of anything football when it comes to the pitch at Manchester United. So there is no talk of this new director of football telling him what to do, which tactics to use. No, that was one of the things that is believed to have delayed a bit. If you call it delaying anyway, it's not really delayed, but the talks have been successful, and Erik ten Hag is going to be putting paper to a new contract. Now, there are these three musketeers that Ineos has come up with to try and mastermind our comeback to the top level where we believe we belong. Now, in RENÉ who has already agreed to join Manchester United. He was manager in the Dutch Eredivisie at Go Ahead Eagles. He managed at Utrecht before. Several clubs he has been in charge of before, but he has been most recently manager of Utrecht, leading them to 9th position in the Dutch Eredivisie. He gave them a bit of consistency. This was a club that used to oscillate between the second tier and the Dutch Eredivisie, which is the first tier of Dutch football. But he had made it a farm club in a mid-table club in the Dutch Eredivisie and a little consistently for the period he has been there. But he has been convinced, the 52-year-old guy who is believed to be a good friend of Erik ten Hag, has been confirmed now as one of the backroom staff members of Erik ten Hag. He has gladly turned down of course, left or dropped his full-time management job as the real boss at Go Ahead Eagles to come and try to work with Erik ten Hag. Now, meanwhile, Ruud van Nistelrooy as well has clearly, given the green light. So he had turned down Burnley and he's coming in to return to Man United at the dugout. Now, here are the strengths. I just want to spend a minute or two to try and give you an idea, a picture of these three masterminds that Ineos has put together for you to understand why are they the ones they have zeroed down on, but also what do they bring. Erik ten Hag, we all know, I know most of you are confused when it comes to his playing style. He loves to attack. He loves to be pragmatic. That is his style. But he needs a certain fine share of balance for him. And this is why they went for Ruud van Nistelrooy and RENÉ HAKE. These two managers or these two coaches have got different strengths. RENÉ HAKE, his Eredivisie side, Go Ahead Eagles, conceded 46 goals in the last season as they were finishing ninth and scored 47. So meaning his sides do not score so many, but they don't let in so many because we're talking a league where certain clubs conceded 88 goals, certain clubs that were below him. So he is a manager who gives a good balance. And I think one of the issues that Erik ten Hag has had in his time as manager of Man United is trying to balance up his fascination with attack, but also that solidity in the back. And this is a manager who will try and give us balance. That is a weakness that we had in the team. There was no balance, especially when he lost the ball. We are too exposed in the middle that Erik ten Hag needed support with someone who sort of shares his philosophy with him, but has a little bit of a defensive instinct than Erik ten Hag. Ten Hag does not really have a proper defensive instinct. It's all about attacking and attacking and attacking. Now, that's one. But also, much as he's all about attacking, he has been struggling to make his players clinical. We know that most of our players have not been clinical enough. Even Rasmus Højlund has not been as clinical as he should be. So what do they do now? Bring in a Ruud van Nistelrooy, who as a player was probably the most clinical striker we've seen in the Premier League. I think he would struggle to find names that were better than him. He was not the most fancy, guy, but he knew where to be and how to bury that chance when it came. Give him a chance, he will bury it. That is being clinical. And you remember, I think for the most part of the second half of last season, of the second half rather of last season, one of the biggest complaints we had with these Rasmus Højlunds and all the forwards we had was them not being clinical enough. That even the few chances that were being created were not converted at the rate we would have loved them to be converted. So Ruud van Nistelrooy now brings that balance. So if you you put the team together, Ten Hag, who loves, whose style, the boss, whose style is we attack and attack and attack, then this manager who will give him, a balance in terms of attacking but being not letting in so many, so we will be rigid enough. Then a clinical Ruud van Nistelrooy who will probably take over what Benny McCarthy has been doing, because I mean, why do you need Benny McCarthy as a strikers coach when you have Ruud van Nistelrooy as part of the assistants? So perhaps he will deal more with the Højlunds, and I'm sure he is the guy to bring the best out of Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee. Zirkzee is first of all a fellow Dutch guy, but Højlund himself, I mean, I don't know whether he did get a chance to see him because he's really a kid, but he must have heard of the name Ruud van Nistelrooy and watched videos of him. He will know that this is a man, a legend of the club, who I should trust in terms of helping, because this is the help that Højlund needed. And perhaps that is why, because if they bring in Ruud van Nistelrooy, perhaps there might not be a need for Ineos to go for an experienced striker, because most of the things probably Ruud van Nistelrooy will pass on to Højlund. Of course, it's different if you're learning from a fellow player, but I mean, Van Nistelrooy can only be one Van Nistelrooy. So it's for me a beautiful balance that I'm excited to see, that I think will excite the dugout. It's going to be a Dutch dugout for Manchester United. Trust you me, it is going to be blazing hot. Drop down in the comment section and let me know your 2 cents about it. But I'm excited for it. Now, still talking Man United, in terms of stories coming through concerning this beloved club of ours. When it comes to players and transfers and talk, well, Man United is expected to move fast when it comes to Jared Branthwaite soon. I think by the 1st of July, we should have gone, I think, and put in a second bid. Ugarte as well, and a swap deal that could involve Marcus Rashford going to PSG, or PSG themselves just coming to pay for Marcus Rashford. I think the Rashford story might be a serious one. It might grow into a serious one with what we are seeing now. But let's monitor it. Let me not speculate a lot about it. But I think for me, the biggest one for today is the constitution of the backroom staff, guys. It's so important, because at times Erik ten Hag, for me, we've seen him at the bench looking clueless. There are certain times in the Premier League games can become too much for you, that you need a solid bench to support you. We've seen him really look clueless at times in terms of how we let in goals, in terms of how we struggle to score. I think with Ruud van Nistelrooy and RENÉ HAKE on the bench, that is a proper, well-constituted backroom staff to support you and give you ideas that can perhaps help Man United stay afloat. Well, beautiful stuff there. Question is then, with these three musketeers, should we be now thinking of top four? I think for me, every season you go into as Man United, you must be thinking about top four. But I don't want us to go into a new season with that kind of pressure on ourselves. I think let's just go saying with the mentality of we are rebuilding, but let the top four fight come as a surprise to us, because it will always be there. We are Manchester United, but I feel like if we just take that and front that, we are going to create an unnecessary pressure on ourselves as the supporters, and then you don't know what will happen. You know what Man United supporters can be. We can be too noisy, and who knows what Ineos are reading and how it affects them. So my feeling is, let's give these people time, because clearly Ineos is working on everything, the stadium, the players. So many accountants try to bring in money. They're working on bringing in new players. They're bringing in new coaches, backroom staff. You can see that they are working on everything in situ. They are not sleeping, are they? They have no time to waste. Neither do I. My name is Webb. Like, share, and subscribe. It's such a good time to be a Man United supporter.